Welcome to Nnalubaale Sports, the home of all content that's made of Uganda sports. We have you covered from Masaza Cup to alumni leagues. It's all here. And when you see me here, you know what we're talking about. That sport meant for hooligans but played by gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, happiness is egg-shaped. Uh, in the rugby circles, we have an elective AGM coming up, and everyone is wondering who's coming for which position, who's leaving, who's staying. But the top and the most interesting post is the president. And with me here, I have a nominee and the current president of the Uganda Rugby Union, Mr. Godwin Kayangwe. Nice to have you here.
Thank you very much. The name is Kayangwe.
Sorry. In the rugby circles, you go by the nickname Tonchu. How does that come about?
That name is as old as almost myself, so it's not about the rugby circles. It's a name I got in school, senior one, but I probably won't divulge under what circumstances. Yeah, so that's a name that most people know, but it goes way back, for a long time ago. Yeah.
What motivated you to come back and run for presidency again? And maybe if you could highlight for us some of the key achievements in your tenure, if you could maybe attach figures to that, it would be very helpful.
Yeah, so basically, I don't know. The question is what has motivated me to come back. It's obvious reasons. The term has been short and very active because of COVID-19. Our 4-year term was basically cut down to around 2 years effectively. So the return to play was a rush. People were yearning to play rugby and the activities had to be accelerated. So we had a very packed last 2 years of rugby. And we haven't actually consolidated most of the strategy, and hence the reason of motivation to return. Key achievements, I think those have been in terms of, if you look at the pillars of rugby union, if we can break them down into the pillars, in terms of grow, of course, we've tried to reach out to more centers. Why we used centers is because some of the schools have not yet embraced the rugby after COVID. So the centers grew from around 70 centers to now 100 and over 100 centers, about 120 centers countrywide. The schools currently playing rugby are 66. That there's a small drop because some schools have not come back to play. The clubs have shot up to 46, you know. And the numbers in both women and men's rugby have actually shot up from the age grade version. And that is, I'll give the credit to the age grade department, which has been led by Dorothy in our term. We've done quite a lot of work in terms of pushing rugby. In terms of structures, you've seen that we brought back most of the associations that need to run, that we need to run the game, and they're all active. We've brought back the activities of match commissioners and then citing officers, judicial commission, disciplinary committee. You've seen it in action. So all those associations are very important for rugby, and that is basically what you call structure in terms of technical. The leagues have been more competitive, as you have all witnessed, since you're journalists who also love the sport. That one goes without a debate that the competition is now really high. We saw in the Sevens national team, national Sevens, a new team from upcountry in Hippos winning it for the first time. We have a team outside Kampala. So the competition has grown. In terms of governance, again, we've tried to ensure compliance within the clubs and also in a way helping them to grow because good governance gives very good growth, opportunity to growth. We saw the awards coming back after a long time. African champions for sevens, the women, rugby coming back on the international scene, which had also given us lots of challenges in the past years, but right now they're back onto their feet. Achievements can go on and on and on. I think we've done quite a lot for a space of 2 years.
What do you plan to do to, keep the momentum going in the rugby union? Because you've said on something, you've built something, you have some achievements to put at your name, but how do you plan to go further from that?
Yeah, so goes back to the first question you asked me, and how I answered it. Naturally, when we came into office, we did a strategy for 4 years, and that strategy is expiring this year. So there's a need to renew and review the strategy, but pick up the good things from what we did in that strategy. And the fact that I said earlier, we had a break of 2 years because of COVID. Naturally, we have not done justice to most of the areas that we wanted to achieve in 4 years. So number one is to consolidate on those areas that we needed to empower, and then to try to achieve that target in the strategy. The strategy might change a little bit, but a lot of things in it, I think, were very good for rugby. And the ones that we've implemented, we've seen the impact, positive impact that they have brought for our sport. So most importantly is for us, we are going to consolidate on those pillars that we mentioned in our strategy. If you want me to break that down, we are looking at things like, and that will go also partly to some bit of challenges. The clubs, the clubs need some bit of more support in terms of empowerment, both commercially and structurally. So basically, governance, commercially, how do they become more sustainable in terms of self-funding, also getting sponsorship and becoming more marketable. I think you're going to see an extra effort put in that area of the clubs, and how to do it is also another very long topic. We have to do high performance at club level so that it is just perfected at national level, and that will mean supporting the coaches and the technical teams at the club level to have a seemingly high performance kind of standard. We've already activated this on the national sevens team, and you've seen how it's performing. And as I speak tomorrow, they are traveling for a month in Cape Town on the same program, high performance and some tournaments, challenger series. But we want to see that happen at club level, because once the clubs are playing very good rugby, you get more people coming in to watch the league because it's competitive, and that means you can get in more funders, because now it actually makes sense when it has numbers. We need to strengthen actually, we tried, but it was one of the weak points. We need to really, really build an under-20 league. An under-20 league, because under-20, even at World Rugby, is a pathway. And there is a World Cup for under-20, and that's why there is a pathway. So these kids who play under-20 then have some kind of level exposure to rugby at that level before they join the clubs and subsequently the national team. So under-20 is very key. And when I say all these programs, it's basically men and women. Yeah, because now we treat women at the same level with the men. So it's basically men and women leagues, whether under 27s or 15s and whatever it is that we're trying to do. Yeah. So for me, I think those are some of the things that we would like to see happen and consolidate in this coming term.
In recent years, we've seen issues of player welfare being raised. So, in your term as president, what have you done to address these concerns?
So player welfare is a very wide thing. It could be medical, it could be allowances, it could be feeding and earning or something like that. So we all know that in the past it has been very difficult to manage that sector. And let's say section of welfare we can only try the best we can intentionally, but you cannot really fully satisfy somebody. Maybe, if you talk about a salary, really, it's a question that can be answered by an individual in terms of satisfaction. However, what we're trying to do in order to improve that particular department of welfare, on the side of medical, medical and insurance, which has been a problem for all players from national team to clubs, we are coming up with insurance which is paid in advance, because insurance companies cannot take us on for now, and I do not know why, but we are coming up with packages that work conveniently, i.e. we pay in advance and those can be claimed as per case. So at least the national team players need to be sure that the medical bit of the welfare is covered. Then we need to extend that to the clubs so that we negotiate with them very good deals that they can also take on as clubs to handle with their players. In terms of allowances, which we call allowances, or remuneration for the players, those are national team level or club level. Club level will be catered for with the plan that we have for the clubs to empower them. But at national team level, we've started contracting players at national team level. So the sevens team now is fully contracted, like say, for example, for the next 12 months. And we need to move step by step. Next should be the women sevens, and then the 15s, both women and men, will naturally be contracted into a semi-pro kind of arrangement. So I think that fully addresses the issue of welfare. Like, for example, the sevens team, if a player is on average getting £1 million a month, I think it's not that good, but it is a very good start.
We've had a significant presence on the international scene. We are currently the Africa champions. We won a ball at the World Cup Sevens last year. So, how do you plan to keep us up there and even get better? Say maybe become a core side in the World Series, or even go for the World Cup 15s. So, what's your plan to get us there?
So the quickest target is the World Series, and the team that is going tomorrow has already decided a program which they decided in February for the next 2 years, and the target is World Series. That's for the sevens national team. The women are joining the same program of high performance next year. That is for the sevens. So, but first, a high performance program is on the sevens team, because for obvious reasons, it's easier to manage in terms of finances and because of numbers. But to answer the question, maintaining us up there or even getting us further, the target for 15s is a little bit a longer target, may not be achieved in my term if I come in as the next president for the last term. But if the programs we set up now, we'll be able to achieve it probably in the next 8 or 10 years. But for the sevens, we believe we can get into the series about next year. How do we do that? We need to strengthen the local properties, like I said earlier. Develop that under 20 league that has to be very powerful. The tertiary league that is inter-university has to be very powerful. The high performance program to be extended to clubs in terms of training and capacity building of coaches and the technical teams to be able to administer that at clubs, so that we have a wider source or pool of players that we can really select a very good team that can continuously represent us. So we need to strengthen the local content in order to maintain the performance up there. Others go without saying. The exposure, we need, of course, more exposure for our teams. They need to play more competitions out there internationally to be able to compete. But the bottom line is if strengthening the local content, then we can address the issue of sustainability.
What is your vision for the Uganda Rugby Union? And if elected as president, how do you intend to take us there to achieve that vision?
Well, my vision for Uganda Rugby has always been it's the same. We need to be world class. We need to be the most popular sport. We want to be the most popular sport in the country, you know. So if you look at that vision and you break it down, it is so broad, because being the most popular sport means that majority of Ugandans are going to be involved. They love the sport. So everything now falls into play. The programs that we are planning in this, Get Into Rugby, schools, uh, recruiting stakeholders and players and new fans into the game, making the events very interesting to attract people. All those now come into play, having structures in terms of the HQ, how is it working, the people who are working, the committees that are working. All of it is pointing towards one thing, which is the vision, still the vision for me, getting it to be the most popular game, because then it can collect in more funds, it has a bigger impact, and at that point, it becomes easier to achieve anything that you target for. Yeah.
There have been concerns of diversity in rugby, especially on the women's side. What steps have you taken to address that? And what do you plan to do forward to make sure that it's very competitive and we have competition within the sport?
So we normally use the word empowerment, but I think it's a crucial word. I happen to be the person who facilitated the constitutional review, the last one. There is a review going on now. I'm not on that team because the committee was chosen, but the past one, which is about 4 years ago or 5, I facilitated that review, and one of the things, the changes we made in that constitution was to make women of equal opportunity status. Okay, so and how did we decide to do that? Is first of all, you women used to have only one vote in the executive, yeah, in the AGM, because it would only be the women's representative vote. So first we remove that and say that women clubs also need to be direct members. They need to be under a club. They need to be direct members of the union, in a way that was to empower them to say that a women's club should be able to also attain a facility, have an excom, and become a direct member of union. So they got votes, and right now I think we have about maybe 6 or 7 members of the union that are women's club, you know. So that empowerment, in a way, is deliberate to show that there's equal opportunity and the women need to go for it. We need to see a lady standing for the position of president going forward. When it comes to play, we enforced and made sure that the women can now play 15s league. Before they would look at 10s and all that, and then when they are going to play international 15s, it's disadvantage. But now they are playing a full 15s league, regionally, centrally. The numbers are still not yet really up there, but we shall continue pushing. Elgon Cup is back, and now we are going to have Victoria Cup, and all the countries are going to play a women's game on the same day. So if Uganda is playing Kenya, Kenya has to travel with both the women and the men. Zimbabwe will do the same, Zambia will do the same, we will do the same. So if you can imagine them being assured 6 test games in a year, that is better than 1 test game that has happened in 3 years, you know. We've seen Zimbabwe here playing them back and, 2 games in a week. We've seen them playing Kenya and Zambia in Wankuku Stadium. So I think deliberately there has been action in the women's rugby, and I'm sure they also feel it, and the sky is the limit. It can only get better because the women are really, really interested in playing rugby. Yeah. So the structure actually supports women, and the system, it always supports women to go up to the top. Yeah.
You mentioned your vision for URIU is to have rugby as the top sport in Uganda. So, what's your plan to make it the top sport and the sport of choice for the Ugandans, especially the young people?
So like I said, it's a very wide topic. We can talk the whole day. But once we say we want it to be popular, all systems have to align to make it actually enticing. So one thing is you need to have good competitions, because once you have good competitions, it means people are going to turn up to watch your good competitions. So your environment has to be that enticing. That is one of the real strategies. You know, good competitions, which is interesting, makes people come. How do you have good competitions? You have to have good training, good capacity building programs in the coaching sector, because if you lack that, you will not produce a good team to give a good show on game day, and then the fans who have come will not be able to enjoy such a display. So for me, that is what works hand in hand, that you can expound on in every other department to see how to get it popular. Expanding it in terms of moving, availability, the reach, up country regions and all that. That's part of that you've seen us moving, and we are going to continue. The likes of Fort Porto, Arua, Kabale, whatever name is, Soroti, is to reach everywhere so that it is known. That is also in a bid to make the game expansive and popular, and also widening the source, the pool of selection in terms of a high level at national team. So I think all the activities you've seen us doing and we're going to continue doing are geared towards that vision of making the game very popular.
Um, in the past, there have been reports of financial mismanagement within the rugby union. What steps have you taken to address this, and how can we ensure transparency and accountability going forward?
I think reports, I do not know where those reports are, because I don't know whether they are official reports or we are looking at social media, some individual who has a pseudonym giving information that there is mismanagement of finances. So I think for me, that is to clear that first, is the formal reports that say there's mismanagement would be something tangible for us to discuss. Otherwise, these social media rants by people that we may not know, and probably they do not have information, the right information, and they are misleading the stakeholders and the public, are the ones people are looking at. However, I'll say there was one official report from IGG's office through NCS that asked NCS to do an audit on us because there was a whistleblower, someone again in the fraternity who misled the IGG's office. So NCS got in touch with us, and this was after COVID, just after COVID, and asked us to explain that query. The query was about money received from Rugby Africa for return to play, you know, and this whistleblower was saying that we received 100,000 euros for return to play, and then we misused it. Yeah, the actual fact was we had received 5,000 euros and we had not misused it, you know. So that information was clarified with receipts and everything, bank transfers and whatever, and sent to NCS to forward to IGG. That is the only time we've got a formal report of any kind of. Otherwise, we've had AGMs every year, and the AGMs always have audited accounts which are passed by the members. After going through them, they always have them a month before. Even as we speak now, I think the audited accounts have already gone out to the members for the AGM that is coming up, which they can screen. And if they have anything, they feel they need clarity, they can always go to the office, the HQ, the headquarters at Lugogo. It is open, and that's the reason we send them early. Now, going forward, like you said, in terms of transparency, in the CRT meetings, we have agreed that we will have at least quarterly meetings. In those quarterly meetings, we will discuss. We shall also have finance on the agenda. Yeah? Normally, just in a kind of update. The other thing that came up was probably on the negotiation and sharing of information, especially on the contracts that the union signs with other stakeholders. And in the CRT, we agreed that going forward, we are going to always present the contract to the CRT before we commit the union. So that is a very new thing that has been agreed on, and we discussed it. It is not mandatory, but I think it is good practice to be that open. So the chairman of these clubs will always have a chance quarterly to look at existing possible contracts or even the existing funds on the intention to use and how they are being used. But I will urge the chairman to also always have forums in which they deliver this information to their stakeholders, because you find a chairman of a club has information, but a member of the club is misleading the country on information. So that's a big challenge we've had. So ideally, we've not had any mismanagement. We've not had any financial mismanagement issue in the rugby union. Yeah.
Would like us to tell us, why should we vote for you? What makes you the best candidate for this position?
First of all, is like I said in the beginning, we need to consolidate all the things we've started. They are not in a firm ground, yeah, for obvious reasons, because we've had a lot of action in 2 years, and most of the structures have been introduced as new structures. An example of a local organizing committee is a new structure. It is still not yet to the point that we think it should be or want to. So it's basically to consolidate on the already existing structures. That's one. Two, correct the mistakes we might have done, you know. Correct the mistakes. That is also very important to look at that. Correct the mistakes and then move a line. You know, leave rugby in a better place. It appears as if half cooked at the moment, depending on in reference to our strategy that we had. You know, for example, we wanted to recruit 100,000 players per year, but we didn't even hit a half of that or a third of that because of the environment and the situation we had to run through. And lastly, which for me is very important, is why I'm answering the question of why I should be voted in. Yeah, I have offered myself in management position for the last 14 years. So the relationships and experience I've garnered over 14 years in management, I think is very crucial for the space we run in now. So I believe I can do all the things we are talking about and leave rugby in a better place, and also have a chance to groom the people that will take over and maintain positive continuity. As it is, COVID did not give us a chance to groom somebody, you know. And carefully, I'm not saying there's nobody out there that can do the job, but in terms of succession plans, are very good for any successful institution. So we did, as a team, we've not done that because Once we started return to play, it was action after action and action after action. So everything is in place, but it needs to be synced to move one direction for a better result. So if you looked behind, when I was coming in as president, there is an article that was written with my manifesto. So there are just a few things. And when I was looking at it again, we need to see more funds coming to rugby. I think we've seen more funds coming to rugby. Yeah. Top of his agenda is developing women's rugby. I think I've explained that. We've seen that there has been a growth in women's rugby, a commendable growth. Player welfare. I promised as well to look into player welfare and improve it. I think we have improved it at the national team level to a certain extent. And then sponsorship, increase the sponsorship that is coming in to consolidate the stakeholders, government in terms of facilities. As we speak now, I think we can witness that we have a lot of facilities that are open for rugby all over the country. And the relationship between Uganda Rugby Union and the government has also strengthened. We need just to strengthen it a little bit more. And that was all part, these last points I'm giving up were all part of my last manifesto. And when I was looking at it, I saw that at least you've touched on every bit of what we promised to do.
Wish you the best in your upcoming election. Ladies and gentlemen, yeah, that's all we had for today. You heard it from the president himself. He's coming back, and you better be ready for him in case it goes through. We wish him the best, and please subscribe to Nnalubaale Sports. We shall keep you informed of all the updates coming up from this enticing election, which is coming up this coming month in April. Stay tuned.